Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo, and we ride the dynamic duo tonight. Allan Lengel, co-founder of Headline Detroit, former staff reporter, editor, Washington Post, Detroit News, and the Eagle American. Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing, Allan?
I'm good. It's a rough week for the Washington Post. A lot of 300 people from the newsroom laid off out of 800. The sports department shut down. The book review section shut. The Metro section, which was really part of the heart of that organization, cut down to I think 12 reporters. It's I see the Washington Post is crumbling, and I think it leaves a big opening, a big void for somebody with some money to go into that town.
Who you think could buy it? Not that they will want it.
I don't know. I'm not sure who's out there right now, but there's some billionaires. I mean, the problem was you have to really have a billionaire who is dedicated to journalism, who's dedicated. Look, Jeff Bezos is worth, what is it, $250 billion. Even if he lost $100 million for the next 20 years, that would be $2 billion. And they could have.
He doesn't care.
He's worried because he has billions of dollars in contracts with the federal government, and he knows how vindictive Trump will be. So he's sucking up, figuring ways to suck up to Trump, man.
Well, no question. Well, speaking of Trump, he posted a photo of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as apes, man.
Right, there we go.
Yeah, unbelievable. Even his servant, houseman Tim Scott, had to Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina had to beat him up on it.
Right. Yeah, it's great. It's bad when Tim Scott has to break out and say, this is the most racist thing I've seen come from this White House. I mean, you can't, you tell people, look, he's racist, and they go, oh, you're over exaggerating and stuff like that. It's like, I always say, it's like watching Wheel of Fortune and there's only one letter left and you still can't see what the message is. It's insane. I mean, just what we've seen with this administration, which will be great to ask Haley about what her colleagues are thinking and what the Republican her counterparts are saying.
Okay, so who are we gonna have on tonight, Allan?
All right, so we've got Haley Stevens coming on in just a minute. I can see she's in the back studio there, and then at 9:00 we've got the Genesee County Sheriff out of Flint, Chris Swanson, who is running for governor. Haley is a Democratic Congress member, and she is running for the U.S. Senate in a pretty competitive race. I mean, on both sides. So, I mean, the Republicans only have Mike Rogers, but he's going to be, someone who's going to be dealt with. He's going to be competition for whoever the Democratic nominee is.
Well, let's bring on, and we'll acknowledge our viewers after the interview. Good evening, Congresswoman.
How we doing?
Doing fine.
You're looking good. Both of you.
As are you.
Yeah.
I got a question. I'm on this poll that came out saying that you trailed one of your opponents in this race. Can you comment on that?
Because it was still a poll that had me up with the Republican. It has me as our best shot of beating the Republican, and we got a open path right now. It's anyone's game for the primary, and I'm thrilled to have gotten the endorsement today, actually, of the former chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, one of my personal heroes, Lavora Barnes, a true operator, someone who got our governor reelected in 2022, somebody who also played a big role in electing Alicia Slotkin against Mike Rogers just 2 years ago now. And so we're going to do that again. And, I'm no stranger to tough races and tough primaries. I'm very invigorated by what I'm hearing out on the campaign trail and the support, as well as just the way in which I'm trying to earn the votes by telling Michiganders what I'm going to do for them.
Let me ask you. You've got two competitors here. Mallory McMorrow is closer in the polls, and even Abdul Saeed isn't that far out. Certainly, what distinguishes you between of the three? How do you see yourself as standing out and being worthy of the nomination?
Well, look, I'll tell you, I think I'm going to be Michigan's strongest fighter in the United States Senate, and I'm going to build off of how I've legislated and accomplished things for our great state in the United States House of Representatives, having been recognized as the most effective Democrat in the House for Michigan, the most effective for science and technology issues, which has to do with your jobs, your paychecks. I've got real plans to lower costs, lessen our dependence on China, and create jobs right here in Michigan. And that's because I'm a manufacturing geek. I have a really unique understanding of the key driver of Michigan's manufacturing sector. And I'm going to be its champion. I'm going to be its bulldog. And I'm going to stand up and deliver for people in the way I have my entire career. If that was as chief of staff on the auto rescue in the administration of Barack Obama, or when I played a lead role in helping get the CHIPS and Science Act passed and signed.
Let me. We have one of our viewers who's saying, "What are you going to do about ICE?" I mean, I think generally people are okay with having control at the border of legally deporting people, but we're seeing a lot of people are even awaiting the process. They're here legally, and they're being snapped up and taken away. How do you see your role in terms of bringing ICE under control? I mean, ICE hasn't been. I mean, it's been demonized now as an agency among a lot of people in the country. Although there's a lot of people who still support ICE for whatever they do. They say, "Who cares? Just do your thing." But we also see in Minneapolis how out of control they've been. What's as a Congress member? What's your role here?
I'm going to tell you like it is. It's outrageous. It is out of control in Minneapolis, and it starts at the top. Kristi Noem is not equipped to be running the Department of Homeland Security. I have signed on to the articles to see her removed from office. Look, I have signed on to legislation to remove the $75 billion plus up that we gave, not we, but Republicans gave to ICE during the tax bill process. They were cutting everything else, but they were plussing up ICE. Well, that $75 billion needs to go into local law enforcement and local communities. We got 2 dead Americans who should be alive. We've got members of Congress like myself who are trying to stand up to Noem and get the questions answered. I mean, just general oversight. And she's hiding. I mean, it's dereliction of duty. And this is just, look, we want safe and secure borders. Of course, we want safety in our communities. We don't want any violent criminals in any neighborhood. But this isn't it. This is abuse of power, and this is overreach. And there's some real concrete steps that we can take here.
Right. And in terms of you also are having one of our viewers is asking about the impeachment. You're trying to impeach RFK Jr. Why and where is that at? And what's the possibility of that happening? Really, the reality of that.
Well, look, maybe it's a long shot, but it is absolutely the right thing to do. And I'm not going to shy away from that when the health and safety of Michiganders is on the line. I sit on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. I wrote legislation to reinstate the funding that RFK Jr. cut to scientific research. Parents coming to me in tears because the clinical trials to cancer research were getting cut and they were freaked out for their kids. Parents who are still freaked out because the vaccine schedule is being upended, not with science, but with conspiracy theory. I called on him to put that back into place. I called on him to resign. And I'm going to tell you what, when 10 Nobel laureates and scientists across the country and even Republican doctors who I know here in Michigan are agreeing with that approach, it's the right thing to do.
But you don't have the votes, even though what are your, in private, off the record, what are some of your Republican colleagues are saying about all the chaos that's in D.C., coming from the White House, all kind of crazy ass things? What are they telling you off the record?
No, and you know, you're getting right to the heart of it, because we have people who are scared. They're scared to speak out. And it's not about, oh, this just feels good or this does. Look, I just shared with you, I have been recognized in the entire Congress as the most effective Democrat on science and tech issues. So I know what it's like to introduce something now, put pressure on. I don't know if Trump's going to fire him. You know, that'd be a good day too. I mean, but I can't stand by. I'm a duly elected member of the Congress. Now, when the Republicans privately whisper and say, oh, yeah, this is crazy. I mean, we saw them doing that during COVID.
Yeah.
You know?
But do you guys, particularly the Michigan delegation, do you talk to them? Do you actually have conversations, or is the wall so high that even in the Michigan delegation, Democrats and Republicans, do they communicate at all?
Well, I will tell you, it's been very profound hearing from Republican doctors who have agreed with the action of removing this guy. I mean, people are fed up with this. So, in terms of the inside baseball, I mean, these Republicans are, they don't care about governing, Allan. I mean, they're nowhere. What's Mike Rogers want to do? He wants to rubber stamp Trump. He wants to rub elbows, clink martini glasses, and bobble along the Potomac.
One of our viewers asked, "Why did you vote to honor Charlie Kirk? He's a racist."
I took a vote to condemn violence, a murder. There's I'll tell you, there's an uptick in political violence that is unacceptable and wrong. I clearly do not agree with Charlie Kirk. I do not agree with standing by when a president is tweeting racist memes in the middle of Black History Month, and at the same time, trying to roll back the whole Minority Business Development Administration. So, look, we got to take the temperature down on the political violence. A man was murdered, but it doesn't mean we're honoring what he said and what he stood for.
Let me ask you what
we voted along with our Democratic leadership, all the members of the Senate and our Democratic leaders, including Hakeem Jeffries.
We saw this posted on True Social. What's been the reaction from you and other members of Congress, including the Republican side? We saw finally, Adolph and I were talking about Senator Tim Scott has finally awoken and said even that's a step too far.
I've been on the phone with my colleagues today, Debbie Dingell, Sri Tanadar, and I'm going to tell you, I mean, we are outraged, and it makes you think about the voices that aren't with us anymore. My friend Virgie Rollins was talking about that with John Conyers and John Lewis, and I'm going to tell you, It's outrageous, but it is so painful. It is so painful that someone who sits in the Oval Office in our country, which is built on opportunity, on equity, on hope, would do something that disgusting. It is beyond. And yet it shows us exactly who the guy is. So look, I rushed a statement to condemn it and to call it out. We need to do more. We need to do more. We need to push for something on the House floor. Maybe all the Republicans can join in on that, because
Okay.
it's so wrong.
Okay. I see we've got a few more minutes.
The Obamas do not deserve it. I'm going to tell you that.
I've got a
I
text.
worked for Barack Obama. I mean, talk about an amazing leader. And yet you got the president who succeeded him doing that.
Right.
We're going to take a break.
We got a few more minutes, and then she's going to have to take off. But go
Okay.
ahead. Let's take a break.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
I was dancing to the music.
All right. Good music. So we've got you to about 8:50, I'm told, which is just a few more minutes. Adolph, do you have any questions? I've got a couple more, but
No, go. I just want to know. One of our viewers asked, "What makes you stand out above your opponents in the primary, and why should they vote for you?"
Well, oh yeah. Look, you care about beating Mike Rogers? Vote for Haley Stevens. I'm going to tell you, every single poll shows I am our best shot at beating him, because I have a rapport with these self-proclaimed independents. Because what I have spent my time in the Congress doing is visiting small businesses, championing Black-owned businesses, going to these manufacturing shops, meeting people where they are, and helping where I can. I've been getting results under a multitude of administrations. I got that Michigan work ethic, and I'm going to make Mike Rogers own it on economic issues. He is responsible for saying, oh, he wants to rubber stamp Trump. These erratic tariffs, going after Canada. I mean, there was a headline just the other day about the ones who are paying the price on him going after Canada. It's us in Michigan. I mean, even our folks in the UP are feeling it.
so I'm going to ask you a question, but you're not going to have enough time to really answer, but I'll just throw it out for the next time that you come back. Domestic or locally, people are concerned about what the Democratic Party is going to do about poverty, about the educational systems in the urban centers like Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, and some Black voters feel like sometimes the Democratic Party is taking them for granted. It's a lot to handle in just a minute or two, but maybe if you want to answer that in a couple of minutes, or
yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you straight up that we cannot afford to have any underserved communities in Michigan, underfunded, undercut communities. This is something that I've spent my time in the Congress working on. We need our fair share of federal taxpayer dollars coming back into neighborhoods. We need equal opportunity and investment in education. We need to address our teacher shortage. We need to address legacy infrastructure challenges. We have to have a comprehensive plan, of which I have drafted legislation in droves around housing, and we've got to stand up for small business creation. So this is what I am calling my Hope Agenda, the MI Hope Agenda, the Michigan Hope Agenda. Bills that I have written, bills that I want to take into the United States Senate to invest in Black-owned businesses, to invest in equal opportunity, and to make sure that when every neighborhood gets its fair share, then we see a more successful Michigan.
Okay. Well, I guess you got to run. You've got a busy schedule still, but thanks. Well, obviously, there's a long road ahead in the race, and we'll have you.
I love Deadline Detroit. I love this show. I think you two are some of the best in business. It's good to be on here. I love that you got a dedicated crew this evening who are watching in. And look, to everyone watching, I'm working my tail off for us. I have been Michigan's pit bull in the United States House of Representatives, and I am going to be, that same dogged advocate for each and every one of us in the United States Senate. This is about telling Michigan's story. This is what this show is all about. By the way, you guys are, you need to come to DC sometime too. We're going to have my colleagues on, by the way. I'll get that going. I'm going to get Adolph on it. But anyway, thank you for the extra time, and appreciate you so very much.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck. Have a great weekend. Stay warm.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, be warm.
Okay.
All righty.
That's good. You want to acknowledge some of our
You want to read some of the comments here?
Yeah, why don't you?
Okay. We've got Dwayla Boyce. Good evening, all. We've got Stephanie Jackson, a regular. Good evening. Janet Saluk. Good evening, all. Jill Sheridan. That's a regular there. Hi, guys. Janet Overall. Good evening, everyone. Edward Alt. 5085. Good evening, Detroit. Kenneth Powell. Like and share the entertainment. Good evening, gang, from T. Truder. Janet Overall, shared. Gina Cateson, hello. Susie Smith, good evening. Eric Brown, wow, straight out of the gate. I sit here laughing my ass off. Money Hollywood, 4116. Greetings, Adolph and Allan, as well as the chat. America politics is a joke, and it is sad who the people actually vote for. Ira Todd, my man. Good evening, everyone. Jenna Cateson. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I have a question for Miss Stevens. What is she doing about ICE? Okay, we addressed that. DeForest M7C. I have a question for Rep. Stevens. I haven't decided who to vote for in the primary yet, but I just want to know who will be the strongest.
He answered that.
The answer to that.
Yeah.
P. Truder was asking that Charlie Kirk why she voted to honor Charlie Kirk. She answered that. Eric Brown says, fuck ICE. What is she doing about the education, homeless, and poverty crisis? I think obviously homeless and poverty crisis is, there are a lot of issues there. And ICE is one of them, but also homeless and poverty crisis are also. Kashmir Monroe, G Money, so true. Politicians always boast what they will do for us, yet so much stays the same or gets worse. I want to say something. Sometimes I know we all feel kind of helpless sometimes, but you can get on the phone, call your Congress member. You can write your Congress member. You can bug the shit out of your Congress member, and so you don't have to always if you're not happy with them, not happy with what they're doing. I mean, one, you can campaign against them or whatever, but you could also, they have offices here in Detroit, they have offices in Washington, and make your voices heard if you're not happy with what's going on. Please.
Well, because we had a woman when Spencer Abraham was running for re-election. There was a woman had called his office because of an issue with her son. I think he was something happened. and she kept a record of it. She called his office like over 150 times.
Wow.
They never responded to her, and that became a commercial, and it took him out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a short-termer there.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. So, Elder Haley, you are reading Michigan's economy dead perfectly. It is a manufacturing state, and STEM careers will prove to be vital moving into a new decade. That's G Money Hollywood, Mary Weber. I just got to say thank you to Rep. Stevens for trying to impeach RFK. I was wondering if she could give an update on that, which we talked about. Jill Sheridan, what's your position on the expansion of AI data centers? We didn't get to that. And the sale of land to accommodate them. That's obviously a hot topic issue of, bleeding resources and how that's going to play out. Eric Brown, it stays the same because not enough people hold the elected accountable. I agree with that. Trying to impeach Kennedy is a waste of time. Well, it's not going to go anywhere.
They're not going to get it. I agree with Eric on that one. That it is a waste of time. But what you say,
right. I mean, you have to somehow figure out a way to keep the light shined on him, and if that works at all, I don't know. But ultimately, look, there's no way there's going to be an impeachment, at least not at this point, until Trump says, okay, get rid of this guy. Then the Republicans will roll over and do whatever he says. And it's possible at some point RFK Jr. will outwear his welcome. But so far, nobody's getting fired this time around, because the first term, people were getting fired because they're kind of own person. They were there and they stood their ground. But here, nobody's standing their ground. So he hasn't fired anybody, which is kind of shocking. Right. Sandy Plotkin, what about naming the ICE detention center in Texas a concentration facility? We should name it the Trump concentration facility. You see, he's trying to get his name on everything, the transit, airports, and so he's sticking his, everywhere he can. I mean, he was like a dog pissing on a fire hydrant. He's got to have his mark on everything. It's crazy. So we have it. I think in minutes we should be getting the Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson to come out, and he'll talk about his run for governor.
Do people know who he is?
I'll tell you, he did. I think he did show up at the DNC. He gave a speech. He's one of the few sheriffs who are probably Democrats in Michigan. I mean, we have, Ray Washington is also a Democrat, but, in the outer parts of Michigan, I think it's rare. I mean, the Oakland County Sheriff is Republican. Washington County, I'm not sure.
I think he's a Democrat.
He's a Democrat, and he did commercials for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, so So that the 3 out of the 4 biggest counties around southeastern Michigan, Democrat.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't thought. I generally think of the sheriffs, in all the other mid Michigan, the western side.
Yeah, Andy Griffin's Barney Fife, folks.
Right.
The real Barney Fife. He was the head of the Klan at night.
It's interesting. I was down in Florida having a little college reunion, and one of the friends lives up in Bel Air, Michigan, which is outside of Traverse City. And I asked him, he's a Democrat, but I asked him, I said, do people know about Mike Duggan? And he said, nobody really knows who he is, and nobody really, I
tell you, Mike Duggan gonna have a hard time, but he's gonna take some votes away from the Democrat. And I meant to ask Haley Stevens that, and we'll see how it goes.
We're going to ask this the sheriff what he thinks about Duggan's role in the race. I mean, right now I think it's clear that Jocelyn Benson's the lead Democratic candidate. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think it's just between right now, the Democratic race is between Jocelyn Benson and the sheriff, which gives them a little bit of a better chance now that Garland Gilchrist is out. The question, do you think, Garland, do you think it matters? The Detroit News did the story on his attendance as the presiding.
No, because it's bullshit. They could have done that when he was doing it. You know, they already knew about it. Now all of a sudden, it's news.
Well, I think. Well, let me ask you that. I mean, I know as a reporter, I think some of these campaigns, you know, they whisper in your ear, they say something. You know, they have opposition research, and they're looking for dirt on their opposition. And when they come up with something, I think they send it around. And if you think it's legitimate, or if you feel you're being used, you have to make a determination whether you want to go with that or not.
Well, as long as he shows up, if it's a tie vote or whatever it was,
right?
Then that's no problem. But we all know people start campaigning, and they start missing votes.
Right.
It's like, fuck it. You know, I'm trying to get elected, and I don't. It don't make sense to be in the Capitol, and so he's gone. That's the first fucking thing that Gilchrist has done with, I say, he went rogue, because everything else he's been loyal. He's been right there. He's been spot on. This is the first fucking thing that he ventured off the beaten path. Okay, so good for Garland. You know, he's gonna have to try to get those delegates, and I'm sure they got it lined up where he will be the nominee for Secretary of State. I hear that former State Senator Hollier, Adam, is gonna be running for a Senate seat. He has one term left, so all the deals have been made, you know, and there it is.
Pardon. All right, why don't we go to a commercial, and then we've got the sheriff in the studio here, and we'll bring him in, and we'll start talking to him.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, we are back. We've got Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, who is running for governor as a Democrat, and the race is kind of narrowed down. It's just you and Jocelyn Benson right now. How are things going?
Good to see you, gentlemen, on a Friday night. It's great. I was with the secretary today. Myself and two other candidates were down at the Detroit Renaissance, and we had our big forum in front of the MEA, 1,000 educators and school employees. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, I worked up in Flint. I was a consultant for one of the former mayors, Woodrow Stanley.
Chief.
I found him some votes. He got reelected. He was on the first. And James Sharp. That was good.
Right.
We were in the Marine Corps. So,
what?
Yeah.
You got some Flint ties there.
Yeah, I love Flint. We used to kick Flint butt in track when I was in high school. So, you know.
Well, I got to be honest. We always say Detroit's the big brother, but Flint's the little brother.
You've seen obviously a lot of the problems. I mean, Flint has a lot of the problems that Detroit has. I think Detroit has more amenities than Flint does, but it has a lot of the serious issues there, poverty and educational issues and stuff like that. How do you translate that all, what you've seen there in Flint and around the state? How do you translate that in your race? What's the message there?
Yeah, I mean, I say this nearly every day. If you can make it in Flint, Michigan, you can make it anywhere in the state and the country, because it is a battle test. So I think for your viewers and listeners, it's important to know that you know, I've been in this business for 33 years. And ironically, my family, my dad, my grandfather, both Detroit police officers in the day, and they're all born and raised in Detroit. I was raised in Genesee County. So when you look at the things that we've been challenged with, especially coming from being a sheriff, you know, poverty, crime, water crisis, during the George Floyd protests, we walked together instead of rioting. You have been able, if you are in a urban environment, to be confronted with some very critical incidences where people's lives depend on it. And when you look at what we've done and translating that into action, that's why things like Ignite, which is our education model in the jail, which we launched 5.5 years ago, has now been the model throughout jails in the country. We're educating people that are incarcerated never to come back. We've dropped crime by double digits. We've dropped the jail population by over 100. It's been studied by Brown, Harvard, and Michigan. By just changing the culture of the jail, this is something that's been going on since 1836, and we've seen repeat offenders come through 3 generations. We've broken that bond. So again, no matter what the challenge is, whether it's a crisis of water, poverty, brokenness, you just can't sit there on the sidelines and think it's always going to be that way. As leaders, I get in the middle of it and we fix it. I bring order out of chaos.
You were doing commercials for Kamala Harris, and there's not a lot of what percentage of the sheriffs are actually Democrats in the state?
Very few. I did a commercial, just for the record. I did a commercial for the Biden administration. I spoke for Kamala at the DNC on day 4.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. And you know, another thing is it seems like a balance. I mean, some people have kind of criticized Governor Whitmer for being a little bit sucking up to Trump, and at the same time, you see her now pushing back, where Trump has said maybe we need to, oversee the elections in Detroit. There's fraud and stuff like that, and she has spoken up on that. How do you do that balance without Trump then retaliating and sending troops in like he's done, or ICE agents or National Guard, where he's done in other states? How do you keep that balance? And what's your read on the Trump administration?
Yeah, this administration only understands equal or greater force. They do not respect weakness. They do not respect silence. They only understand an equal or greater force. That being said, the reason I did the commercial for Joe Biden is because I stood in uniform and I said January 6th should have been stopped, and it didn't. And I knew that that would rise to the level of views. And then after Joe Biden bounced out and Kamala came in, there's a reason why when I was asked by the DNC commission to speak at the DNC right before Kamala took the nomination, and I wanted to do it in full uniform, and I stood there direct to camera in front of 23.5 million people and said, I stand up to bullies. This is what I do. We protect, serve, and unify. In Flint, where I come from, crime is down and funding is up. Those messages, they might not like them, but they have to respect them, because this is the message that they understand. Fast forward to Governor Whitmer. I think what she did with Selfridge Air Force Base was the right thing to do. You've got to work with the federal government when it benefits the people of Michigan. We've got a fighter jet program now for generations. We got a Stratotanker program now for generation. I've talked to the Brigadier General of that base, and it is set for us, not only national security, but for Michigan. Now, there's times to push back. So when you have somebody that wants to come in and dip into our elections, which are purposely separated from the federal government to keep that integrity, that's the time to push back. And if you see what's happening with National Guard coming into cities, I've been very vocal, not in Flint, not in Genesee County. We don't need them. When it comes to ICE, you may have watched some of the videos that I did predicting in the fall that if mass agents and what we're seeing isn't stopped, we're going to see a deadly interaction. Renee Good gets shot and killed. 2 shots from the side window. She's not trying to hit him. She's pulling away. That's not a popular thing for me to do as a sheriff, to be critical of law enforcement. But yet it was an incident that needed to be called out. I still love what I do for 33 years. But that moment, I predicted if it didn't change, it would happen again. And what happened? Andy Preddy thing happened. So to answer your question, the role of governor is a role of executive leadership that has to work with the federal government to benefit the people of Michigan. But the role of governor also has to stand in the gap with strength and vigor to make sure that if something is taking away from the people of Michigan, that it doesn't happen.
How do you get your voice and your agenda out to communities like Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, Pontiac, Benton Harbor, etc.?
Well, you'll appreciate this. I mean, number one, I've been building a platform for 3 decades, and I have spoken to millions and millions of people. If somebody were to see things, they're like, oh, that's the sheriff who walked with the people. That's the sheriff who started Ignite. That's the sheriff who does human trafficking. He's the one that's got the billboards. He's the one that's got the signs and the buses and the vans. Social media, last month in 28 days, I reached 5.4 million views on social media. This is how you connect with people. But also, I'm in front of people. So I was in Detroit 4 times today. I'm leaving tomorrow at 5:30 to go to Benton Harbor for the Black Expo. I was in, obviously at the Renaissance Center today. I was at WJR this morning, Mojo in the morning. This is how people communicate. So when you're running for governor, it's not something you just decide to turn on the switch. This is something that you better have a foundation with. And I built that foundation. And that's why we have campaigns. And that's why I'm on your podcast, because you have voices that I can't reach to. But together we can reach people.
Well, the polls say that Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is the person to beat. What do you say?
Well, polls are irrelevant at this point. I mean, it's so far. We're 179 days away. Those polls are more important than the last 60 days. And I'll tell you an example, whether you agree with Zoran Mondani or not. Last year in March, he was 8 points. That was his poll numbers. And Cuomo was at almost 40 points. By June of last year, he beat him by 15 points. So polls, I mean, I can call up and say, do a poll in this area, and I can share the results. What I look at is this is still an early race, and there's 2 of us that are in a race. Jocelyn and I are friends. We work together in our offices. She's got a path, I got a path, but ultimately the voters are going to decide at that voting booth. So I look at it as, am I connecting with people? Am I being asked to come on podcast? Are people responding? Is our social media numbers going up? And the answer is yes to all of that, a resounding yes. Plus I have labor support. Iron workers, operators, IBW, Teamsters, building trades from the bridge down. These are communities that are looking for leadership. And when this thing rolls out, it just continues to build momentum.
And in terms of money, look, Jocelyn Benson's got connections with Stephen Ross, who obviously has a lot of money. How do you overcome that disparity there in terms of money being raised, and which translates into billboards and TV commercials and flyers and all that kind of stuff? How do you offset that?
Well, let me just say, that's old school politics. I'm telling you, money doesn't win elections anymore. Look what happened in Texas just last week. This Democratic Texas senator was outspent 10-1, and he's going to be the sitting state senator. So Kamala Harris, you spoke of that, had $1.2 billion and lost everything. So the way people communicate now is exactly like this. It's the getting in front of people on social media. So do I think TV ads have a place? Yes, but a lot less than they did a year ago, and certainly a lot less than what they did 2 years ago. When it comes to putting out there, I mean, I'm a grassroots guy. I'm a Flint guy. I know the number that I need to get to August the 4th. And so I'm not going to raise millions of dollars. I'm not taking DTE money. I'm not taking consumers' money. I'm not taking corporate money. I'm talking to people that are willing to give $5, $10, $50, $3,000 because they believe in the message. That's a working class candidate with a working class budget. I know what it takes to get there, and we're doing it.
Are you surprised, like when you go, I know at Deadline Detroit, sometimes someone will go, oh, no, I've never heard of it. And other people go, oh, my God, yeah, I read it every day. Are you surprised when you go to Grand Rapids and maybe someone says, oh, yeah, I know who you are, or somebody goes, no, tell me who you are. What sense are you getting out there?
Yeah, that's a great question because, I see both, even in communities that I have been in my whole life, up the 75 corridor. They're like, wait, you're the sheriff of where? I said, I've been in this business for 33 years. I've been the sheriff for 7 years. That's the thing about humans and marketing. It's about pounding the message. But to your point, and I've said this before, I absolutely go all over the state. And because I've had such a reach for years and years on social media, it is refreshing because they'll say, oh, I saw your Biden commercial, or I saw you speak at the DNC, or I remember that moment when you walked with the people, and I remember the moment where you spoke to our group. There's such a constant dialogue. I say it's like when I show up, it's all these little connections that come together, and it triggers like, oh, that's where I saw you. So the name face recognition that I've built, I'm very proud of because it's been built over many, many years. But I get both of those responses, and it's it's always surprising and in fact sometimes maybe even humbling how people have connected and that I've never met before.
Is Mike Duggan being in a race going to take from the Democrats as an independent?
Yeah, well, I will tell you this. With me, not as much. And I'm going to tell you why. And yeah, I saw one of your other episodes on December 20th. You were talking about Mary Sheffield and the governor and who they're endorsing, and they're staying neutral, and I respect that. But with the Mike Duggan factor, and I was with him today at the MEA event, and we have a very professional relationship. So if he was here, I'd say the same thing. And he knows it's an uphill battle. They're running a different campaign, just like I'm a different Democrat. So if you look at the city of Detroit, 630,000 people, Genesee County, 433,000. So he got just about 60 plus thousand votes to be the mayor. I got 134,000 to be the sheriff. So if you just take those groups of voters and right out of the starting gate, I'm a 2-to-1 on that. Now, on top of that, the independent candidate is really just people who are going to vote depending on who the person is, regardless if they're Republican or Democrat, but they're still going to vote for a candidate. So somebody like me, who's from a big county, 5th largest in the state. In fact, one of the top 5 counties you need to win the primary. But if you look at the general, which is where he's going to go to, then if I have the ability, which I have twice, to get a 30% crossover vote. So you're talking 2 big general elections. And I tell you one thing, Allan, this is even after the commercial and even after the DNC appearance, where I had a lot of people who would not vote for a Democrat, but vote for me, not happy with me doing that. I still got a 30% crossover. So if I'm fortunate enough and work hard enough to get past the primary, and I'm the general candidate for the Democrats, I can take a chunk out of the Republicans who are exhausted with what they're seeing on the right. They want something different. They didn't sign up for that. I answer the void for people that are independent, that are just looking for a candidate with the entire Democratic base. That's the pathway for me. I think if Mike Duggan's going against another Democrat, he would probably take more. But you said it in your last episode, it's an uphill battle, and he knows that. So we'll see what happens with 3 in the race in November.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and finish up with the sheriff.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, we're back Friday evening, Detroit in black and white. I got a question. Mike Duggan was criticizing the Democrats. The Democrats have been coming at the Democratic Party, been coming at him pretty hard. And one of his criticisms was, he said, well, they had the trifecta. The Whitmer was governor, the Senate and the House were both Democratic controlled, and the Democrats didn't get enough done, and Whitmer essentially didn't get enough done. How do you think that's a fair criticism? Or
Yeah, he's right. I mean, I had a bill in the House myself for protecting pets, companion animals, that if you get convicted of an animal abuse, neglect, or torture crime, that you can't own an animal for a certain period of time. It protects, child abuse, elder abuse, domestic abuse. It died on the vine in lame duck. So, I mean, the whole state, in fact, go to labor leaders who had bills that have been testified, they've gone through all the process, they're sitting there and nothing happened. So, yeah, that's a legitimate. And that's the reason why we also have a 26% favorability. Democrats have to do better on messaging what our leadership is. And that's one of the reasons why I'm stepping out doing what I'm doing. I'm a different Democrat.
Two-part question here. One is from one of our viewers, and I'm going to ask you about the Flint water crisis. Where we're at on this, and also Sanford Plotkin asks, Nessel, Whitmer, and Dingle have refused to enforce the consent decree entered with BASF 30 years ago to stop polluting the Detroit River and Wyandotte drinking water. Would you commit to doing otherwise?
Well, to your first point, the water crisis was real. On January 4th, 2016, when we declared a water emergency, the residents, myself, my parents live in the city. They've been complaining of brackish water for months. And if the Snyder administration didn't take it serious And if it was another city, it probably would have been taken more serious, but it wasn't. When we declared that emergency, within the next day, we were out in flatbed trucks with cases of water, telling people. The first house was Saginaw, Pasadena. I knocked on that door and said, you cannot, me personally, as the number 2 under the sheriff, who's the emergency manager, we deployed, said, you cannot drink your water. We've got to fix the lines. We've got to give you filters. But until then, here's your water. 100,000 people couldn't drink water in one day. And that water crisis became a national and a global vision of what failed government looks like. Fast forward, we had the National Guard. This was a daily incident. The water in Flint is safe, and it is probably the most tested water in the country at this point. However, the distrust that the community has with government has something that has and will always be a sore that will yet to be healed. And on top of that, we're talking 10 years later. Do you know they still don't have their water payments? Those that have lived through that still don't have their $650 million.
Attorneys got paid, didn't they?
Of course they got paid. You're right on. But
Yeah,
the hardworking people, my mom and dad is 87 and 85. My mom works at JCPenney 4 days a week. They haven't gotten their money. Can I tell you, day one, and when I say I take the office in 1/1/27 at noon, day one, we're going to get an executive order making sure if it's not done right by then, it's done right that day. But to your second point, I've not reviewed what your caller had said, but I will tell you, there's a reason that I have such a passion for clean water. And there's a reason why when Lockhart Chemical 3 years ago poisoned 22 miles of the Flint River, I went after the owner who lives in Oakland County and charged him with felonies through the Attorney General office. There's a reason why I drove all the way out to the West Coast into the fruit belt and talked to somebody who lost her husband because of PFAS, the forever chemical. There's a reason why I've committed to LCV, that I'm not taking DTE, I'm not taking consumers' money, that I'm committing to a safe environment. That's not a Democratic thing. That's a people thing. Everybody should have safe water, safe air, and safe land. I know that personally, and that's what I'm going to continue to commit to your caller's point.
Okay. If somebody want to work on your campaign or donate money, how do they do it?
Now, you just asked the best question ever to help the machine. Man, that's the hammer. Listen, I will tell you this, and it goes back to your original question. I'm a grassroots guy, and I appreciate everybody who invests. I would not do this 1 second if I didn't have a pathway to win, and I wouldn't do it 1 second or waste anybody's resources if I couldn't do a good job as the governor. So it's swansonfrommichigan.com. You can look at all the social media. You can see the work that I've done that has been transformational around the world. If you want to be part of that movement and you want to create that momentum, then join this and invest in this campaign. Not just give me money. I'm a fiduciary. It goes through me into the pathway to take us where we need to go.
Okay.
Man,
well,
we got to have you back on, Chair.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your energy there. It's all right. So we'll definitely have you back. It's still very early in the campaign. And,
yes, it is. Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck with
everything. Keep doing what you're doing. It's not easy doing a podcast as often as you do it. So stay the course and keep using your voice. I'm back whenever you need me.
Okay, we're gonna have you back before the election.
Thank you, gentlemen. Be safe.
Have a great week. Thank you. All righty.
He's riled up.
He's got energy. Obviously Jocelyn Benson, she's got a name. I mean, she's got a statewide office. She's been there for 8 years. She was the president of the law school at Wayne State University. So she's got a profile there, and she's got I think Stephen Ross, who owns a big real estate investor who
I thought he was a Republican.
No, I don't think so. But he's got he owns.
He still owns the Dolphins, don't he?
He owns the Dolphins. He just got rid of his coach. He just fired the coach there. But so they've got money. But he's what do you think about that when someone says money's irrelevant?
Well, sometimes money is irrelevant. What is the woman that started Huffington Post?
Oh, Ariane.
Her ex-husband spent, I think $80 million for a Senate race and didn't win. It was that much money.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, but it does make a difference. You got a message. You spin it and get your message out there when people see you. We just looked at the mayor's race here in Detroit, where the new mayor had the most money, and she got a message out there, and people that was undecided, all they heard was Sheffield in their head when they went to vote, and that's who they voted for.
She had a platform. I mean, she had a high profile already.
Yeah, she got out there a year earlier than most other folks, and this guy is the sheriff Swanson is pretty energetic, in that he can hold his own in a debate, and he's right about running against Duggan, so to speak,
right? Because
Genesee County know who he is, and they don't know who Duggan is, and that's the truth. He hit it right on the head, So yeah, so
talk about a lot of money. Perry Johnson has jumped into the race last week, and I don't know if you saw, he is now running a commercial because there's a big pushback to Bad Bunny. People don't realize Puerto Rico
is a part of the United States.
Yeah, since 1917, Puerto Ricans have been American citizens. Perry Johnson is, the Charlie Kirk organization is sponsoring an alternative to the halftime show with Kid Rock, and it's all about America and family, and it's all this bullshit. And part of it is, I think Bad Bunny is going to do part of his show. Some of the songs are going to be in Spanish, and we can say, we can just say, oh, the majority of Americans, why, this is America, damn it. But the Hispanics make up 20% of the population. I mean, we have to.
And people speak in the community. They speak in Spanish. They speak in Polish. They speak in Yiddish. They speak in French. Well, we could just look at our neighbor to the north, where Quebec had to beat back that shit for 100 years. When the majority of the Canadians say they need to be speaking English, and they say we're gonna be speaking French. And if you go to Quebec, I've been to Montreal, that's what they speak. They speak their version of French, because the French people I know say that's a dialect up in Quebec. So wherever it's French.
And look, people go into nail salons or whatever, and they might be Asian owned, and people are the employees are speaking to one another in whatever it is, Vietnamese or.
The Amish is speaking German, the High German, whatever the version of German that they speak. But yeah, that's it. But your final thought.
Yeah, I mean, I just I see Perry Johnson. He's trying to raise a thing of
he need an avatar.
If you see,
he need an avatar. He needs to be replaced, because you look at him. Would you vote for him?
Howdy doody. But he is, trying to, I mean, his commercial is 30 seconds, and there's 5 times in that 30 seconds where he mentions American, 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 America. And it's we're a melting pot. I mean, we still are a land of, a lot of immigrants have come here legally, and some are waiting to get processed to see, if they can stay here or not. And some of those people who are here legally are getting picked up and shipped out of there. But I just, the Perry Johnson, that commercial bothered me, because I just think it's bullshit. I think you're really trying to put hate and trying to say, screw the Puerto Ricans, and, we want America. But America is made up of a lot of different ethnic groups here in Metro Detroit. I mean, you go out to Warren, Macomb.
Ukrainians, you don't even have to go to Warren. You go right down in Hamtramck. And you go to Dearborn, you go to Dearborn Heights, and you see what you see.
St. Clair Shore, you got a lot of Italians, you got all these different ethnic groups. I mean, that's what Detroit has always been about.
Is really, you come into the city, you see the brothers and the sisters. Yeah. So We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you next week, Allan.
Okay. All right.
And we'll continue.
By the way, the Pistons are winning 90-60 against the Knicks.
Well, they got their ass kicked last night.
Yeah, they did against.
But anyway, they can't win them all.
Yep.
Well, we beat you. We beat Michigan State.
That's right. Yeah. Michigan's good, man. They're a powerhouse.
Yeah, no question.
Good,
so we'll be back tomorrow.
Yep.
It's Detroit in black and white.